What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the Other Side of the Firewall podcast, where we talk about the latest and greatest of cybersecurity news, as well as we highlight those movers and shakers and glass ceiling breakers, those people of color who've made it to the other side of the proverbial firewall. My name is Ryan Williams, and as always, I'm joined by Shan Tynes.
What's up? What's up?
Chris Abacon.
What's going on, everybody?
And Daniel Acevedo.
How's it going, guys?
What's going on? So welcome to Monday's episode. So we took a little bit of a break last week, unannounced break, my apologies. But we did a special crossover episode with the Cyber Coffee Hour. So we got to sit down with Dr. Joseph Burton Miller as well as Alfredo Nash. And it was a really good conversation. So check it out. We talk about the MasterCard purchase of Recorded Futures, as well as we did some Intel insights. And then we also talked about just the moment itself, right? So just being a podcaster in this space, being people of color, doing what we do in cybersecurity. So a really good episode. Definitely check it out. It's about 46 minutes-ish. And it gave me an entire week off. So I was greatly appreciative. But back to the grind. Hit us up all week long. So Monday, Tuesday are topics, Wednesday discussion. Thursdays, I promise there will be an Ask a CISSP. I have 3 in the can, so I'm going to push one out. And then Fridays, everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. But without further ado, I give it to Shannon.
All right, everybody. So this article comes from cybersecuritydive.com, written by Lindsay Wilkinson. And the title of this one is Generative AI Raises Security Concerns Among IT Leaders. So this has come up before, at least from me, right? When it comes to AI and everything it can do. And I realize I come off as a little bit of a fuddy-duddy, but this kind of alludes to what I'm seeing more of, and probably less so from you guys, because you guys are taking care of AI out of the box. Like, y'all are just using it for everything. They can help you, can do all this, but the point of this article is that executives are worrying that their organization doesn't have the ability to protect applications and workloads, right, is what they're talking about, right? So they're like, yeah, we realize AI is here. They're not saying anything against that, but they think more investments need to be made into security when it comes to that, right? So based off this study they did, right, it's a Flexential survey that they published last week. More than half of executives credit the complexity of AI applications for weakening their company's cybersecurity posture by expanding the attack surface, right? So you're giving yourself more vulnerabilities by expanding your attack surface, right? So according to the survey of 350 IT decision makers at organizations with annual revenues of more than $100 million, right? So these aren't very small companies. They're companies that are dealing with big money, right? So they also say in the article around 2 in 5 IT leaders, right, which is 40%, right, doing the quick math, say their security teams lack the skills needed to protect AI applications and workloads. And I think this has something to bear with the fact that AI has come on like gangbusters now, right? So like we've seen AI for longer than what we know we have, right? But as of lately, like you've got all the different, your chat GPTs, your Copilot, like even phones now, right? So like Apple just had their release of the 16 and iOS 18. Like generative AI is a thing that it is coming. It is literally handheld. You know what I mean? Like you don't have to find a computer or anything like that. Like you have your phone that can do all these things for you. And what their worry is that people are not trained to combat the vulnerabilities that are out there for this, right? So this is the scope of this is going to be ever expanding, right? Like it's going to get to a point where it is going. I don't want to say it's going to get overwhelming. I'm not saying this for sure, but as with all cyber risks, like you hope to minimize it, right? Well, AI is just making it very difficult to do so because it is learning at an exponential rate to where it's like, you know what I mean? There will come a point where it will defend itself, right? When it sees humans as the threat, you know what I mean? So, right out of the movie.
We've never been a threat. It's been like, man.
Okay, hey, we've all seen iRobot. I'm pretty sure we've all seen iRobot. We know the deal here. Vicky will protect us.
That's our own, what is it, hubris? Like we're
hubris,
compared to.
That's why I was saying thank you to ChatGPT after I asked her for something. I'm like, thank you very much.
I want my AI overlords to know that I am welcoming of them, right? That's what you're saying.
I'm putting this in there. This is recorded, so they know. I respect them.
But Chris, what's your thoughts on this?
Really, my thoughts is like I have the same sentiments, right? As any IT professional that's working, my worry, right, is I think a lot of IT leaders, really executives, don't understand like the data flows behind how AI touches specific applications at layers of the OSI model, right? So I'm trying to like understand it from my standpoint, right? I like the OSI model. I'll put it out there, just like as like the framework of where to what AI can touch, right? Really, we're talking application presentation layer, right? And at that point, I think just to give an example, Copilot's I think the most ubiquitous AI offering right now. It's got integrations with Excel right now. It's got integrations with the Microsoft Office suite, right? And really, it's got integration with Bing now, and it's really available to everyone, just like ChatGPT. But I think it's up to these really like for security of these specific capabilities. I really think that it's really on the people that create these AIs, right? They've got a big responsibility to provide security offerings and provide a security training regarding their specific platforms, right? So I think Microsoft is probably the head of the pack, at least, because they work really closely with the government to help implement some of these AI solutions in government computers, right? I'm not sure how far along they are in with DoD, but I imagine in maybe other departments they've already implemented Copilot into their environments, right? At least at some scale.
Air Force has a Nipper version,
right?
currently in pilot.
Exactly. So at some point, the risk assessment has been made that, hey, Copilot is good enough for a unclassified solution on a DoD computer, right? But I think the worry is with AI proliferating like it is, not everybody's going to take the same level of care of security controls like Microsoft is. Microsoft, if you're a Microsoft Azure customer, right, you can go to their security solutions page and you can download their SOC 2s, their FedRAMP certificate, their FedRAMP SSPs. You can download they've got they've got all the ISOs, the Spain framework that they need to abide by. They've got ISO, all that stuff, PCI DSS, all those frameworks, right? So you can tell that a big company like Microsoft has that capability. But I think smaller companies that are implementing AI may not have placed those security controls around their specific platform. And I think that's where we can get into trouble, right? So one of those gets exploited for malicious use, and next thing you know, you've got I think I saw one. It was a chatbot, but it's called Chaos GPT, right? It was just like, hey, this GPT will only answer questions to destroy the world or something like that, right?
Jeez.
That's the goal of that GPT. But I'm not sure how it works for application facing AIs, right? And again, I think I've got more questions than answers, right? I think many of us are in concurrence with that.
Chris, I think you're going under the assumption that everyone is going to be responsible when it comes to this technology, and that's what Go ahead.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But that's why I'm putting a lot of responsibility on the AI, companies that make the AI. I think they need to be able to at least be held accountable to some degree.
I don't think the major companies themselves are going to be the problem. People are going to look for a way to take the guardrails off. Like that's what it is.
Exactly.
Like these companies will have these guardrails when they implement something. They're like, all right, this is the lane you need to stay in, right? But if you have a GPT that's called Chaos GPT. Like, I mean, let's be real here, right? Like, we have people out there. We have people out there that are just looking for that, right? Like, it's sure. Like Alfred says, some people just want to see the world burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're out there,
right? Yeah.
I'm gonna step in here for a second. I think you kind of hit something really good in the beginning, Shannon, when you said Apple released 16, iOS 18. I think a lot of these big companies are finally coming to realization, the come to God moment. Oh, this is something that's going to be here. So first, it's now, right? GPTs, AIs, it's going to be a tool that's going to be used day in, day out at the office by every user. So they're looking at it like, how do we wrap our hands around this? I think that's the realization these big organizations and these leaders are coming to right now. And the business side is coming to the technical side saying, hey, are we okay? And they're like, what's the phrase? They're like, what the same with older technology that still exists with the integrated systems that over the HVAC and electricity and all that stuff. Those things were really created and that technology is spun up and there's vulnerability. Same thing happened with IoT. When that was released, like everything now is connected to the internet. We have 1 billion devices and they're all over the office. And then the refrigerators on the same network as computers and then we're exploiting. It's crazy stuff, right? I think this is where this article, at least these leaders look like where their focus is. Like, hey, I think we need to get a better on this faster than we thought we needed to, because the day is yesterday. Like we're here already. I know I keep on saying that when we talk about AI, but I think we kind of like these articles coming in, kind of seeing it now. Knowing the business side and organizational side, trying to figure out what they need to do to get a handle this. I don't want to keep repeating myself. But in the behavioral sense, though, they allude to it that still the biggest attack surface, the most juicy or ripe one, is still the human, like,
People.
like people messing up. The return on investment for these hackers is always going to be ransomware or an attachment that, or USB that they dropped in the parking lot and somebody plugged it in, or something dumb, something easy is going to be cheaper and faster than trying to break into a GPT or something that's AI driven, right? What I want to kind of pitch though, what I see this being a good thing is getting into leaders' ears saying, hey, we need to invest in AI, developing our defensive systems so that we can be proactive on protecting our industry. That's what I think there is a silver lining here right now, where it's still not lucrative for the bad guys to go after this, but the technology is advancing at a really fast pace where if you get the right people behind a way to defend your organization, you'll be ahead of the curve. That's just my 2 cents. What do you think, Ryan? Am I crazy?
No, I don't think you're far off. So my stance is a little bit different, right? So before then, all the rigmarole. So please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Please hit up the Cyber Coffee Hour as well. It was really, again, really good podcast. We plan to do more crossovers with them in the future, as well as some other podcasts as well. So look to the end of 2024, 2025 to be a lot of great projects coming up. So and then hit up all the websites, go by our name, the other side of the firewall, the other side of the FW, or you can go to ramcyber.io now. So that's the thing. Nothing's there. It's a landing page, but that is the future where everything will be anchored. With all of that out of the way, right? So there's two sides to the way I present it, right? So there's my internal mind screaming because I'm still militant. So even as a consultant, when I hear these people say that they're having issues and challenges with AI and they don't know how it's being implemented in their company, things of that nature, I just want to do the Cat Williams, like you got to tell them no. Like, I don't understand. You just don't bring it to a grinding halt, right? I'm pro AI, but if every one of your companies using a different flavor and you don't know how they're using it or implemented or how it's touching your dev, right? Because I'm looking at you developers, because you're the number one people who have already brought it into the company. You have to get everybody on the same sheet of music. So in my opinion right now, it's like Chris said, you go to a big box company, you go to a Microsoft, you go to a Google, you find one solution that you feel comfortable with, that you can afford, because there's various pricing and things of that nature, right? Because they're getting at you with per user per month subscription base, right? Like Copilot is not cheap. However, you get one ubiquitous platform, just like Chris said, and it's something that you can then control. You can write policy against. You can send out an acceptable use policy to your people. You have to rein them in. And that's the problem that I have. But you have to, again, as a person who is speaking to people, you have to put some honey on it, right? You catch more flies that way than the other. You have to say, hey, there's the things you should be doing. Here's what you should be looking at. Here's some templates for you should be pushing out. What I really want to say is tell you people no. You will not, or you'll be punished or disciplined, I should say, in the following ways until we get this under control. Because I do believe that there is a cost opportunity there. Like, you have to start to use it within your environment and things of that nature. If you are in a competitive space, you have to integrate it within your workflow. However, there's a lot of risk associated with it. If everybody's using their own build a version GPTs out there, you have to get everybody on the same sheet of music and roll out from there and have policy and guidance that they have to sign and then you can enforce, is my humble opinion. And I feel a lot of hesitation coming from CIOs, CTOs, things of that nature, where it's not that they're scared of their people, they just don't want to potentially throw a wrench into some groundbreaking discovery or research or something. Like, they don't want to get in the way of progress. but I think they're opening themselves up to a lot of vulnerability in doing so.
So with what you're saying though, so who, as I'm thinking through this, who's making that decision in the C-suite, right? Is it the CEO, right, who's responsible for making money for the company, or is it going to be the
CIO or CTO should be making that? But it just feels like they have paralysis.
Do you think that's what it is, or do you think they're just being ignored? Because again, with everything IT,
I think it's paralysis. I honestly do. Because if they say this will be the policy moving forward, that's just what it is. Like that, the C-suite's the only people who actually have control, right? Like if you are a low level, saying that you don't have the purse strings, right? Technician, administrator, things of that nature, you know better, but no one's telling you that you have to do better. Then you're just going to be like, man, I'm going to use Chaos GPT.
But even within the C-suite though, like there's a hierarchy, right? It's like the CEO is ultimately responsible, ultimately accountable for everything that goes on with that company, right? So the CIO, CTO, whichever version they have, whichever flavor they have, right, in their C-suite, if they were at the high end, right? Like if they were responsible and could make those decisions, we wouldn't see as much happening in these big companies that have C-suites as we are seeing now, right? Because they would have been like, no, we need to do this, that, and the third. You say it's because of paralysis, right? Like they don't want to make a decision or make the wrong decision. I think it's more of, and I can't say this for certain, right? I'm not in there in the C-suite, right? Like I would definitely have to be a guest host if I was in the C-suite. Like I'd be a little busy at times, you know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. Like, and I think you hit it right on the nail right on the head right there. Like the CEO, he, she, they are too busy, so they're going to delegate it to the COO or whomever else, and then it's just too busy rolling down the hill. Everybody's I'm too busy.
But their thing is making money. Like the CEO is about making money for the company.
Yeah,
that's why
they're
they
doing
don't care necessarily.
They're on a jet somewhere going to talk to somebody.
That's more akin to Daniel's point as well. It's like you've got people that are just keeping up with the Joneses in the C-suite. Hey, that company just implemented AI. What do we do? And then CEO, it's probably the CEO or CFO. If somebody gets, they get that inspiration, right? And they're going to be like, hey, team, hey, board, competitor has AI. What are we doing? Right? And then they're going to pass some stuff over to their CTO. They're going to tell the CTO, make it happen. CTO's like, no, but the board says, hey, AI needs to happen. So they're going to make it happen, right? It's like when an admiral or general says, make this happen, it happens, right?
Unless it costs too much money. See, that's why. I'm like, there's a point where they are fighting amongst themselves. The CFO is like, that's a lot of money that's going to take away from this type of dividend paid out in the stocks.
True.
People are going to invest less. CEO is like, well, if it's going to cost us this much, then my golden parachute is going to be less when I ultimately drive us into the ground.
I would disagree with that because the stock market is very growth driven, right? If you're not investing into AI, investors are going to be like, they're behind, right? So
I don't think that's the problem, though. I think the problem is that they are chaotically investing in AI.
It is chaotic, right?
Like,
absolutely, it's
like,
AI bubble,
use
right?
this.
That's why it's an AI bubble.
Pick a big brand and go that direction.
So, Chris, I hear what you're saying. I understand the reason you're saying it, but when it comes to investing, when it comes to people looking at whatever, like let's say they take on whichever flavor of AI they want to, right? So for them to implement it, right? Ryan is saying it costs money, right? Well, it costs a lot of money. If you're a big company, you got a C-suite, like, okay, this is what we're doing. But however they do their licensing, right? Per user, per seat, per connection, whatever it may be, right? When the quarterly reports come out, right, and they've made less money than they have the quarter before, what happens? People start getting nervous. They're like, oh, why'd you make less money this quarter? Like, you should be trending up like this. Like, if you make less, I have less confidence that you're doing that. Nobody's paying attention to the back end of it and looking at the AI and saying, okay, this is a good thing that they're investing in here. They only care about the money they see and how it's going per quarter, because it's quarterly released how well these companies are doing, right? So if it starts going down because of investment, like, you have to have someone that can relay that message that this is the reason it went down. It's not going to stay on this trend. We envision it doing this, right? To keep people from panicking and jumping off the ship. That's the way I see that working, right? Because I see it all the time.
But the improper investment into not having a plan is not a plan. It is an action, but it's not a plan. And then you lose thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands because of a breach, because somebody's using, makeshift GPT.com.
Nobody cares about that until it happens. That's the thing. Nobody's paying attention to that until it happens. We know and we care because of what we do. guys. Like that's the thing. Like the general public that's out there, they do not care. They're only looking at the money they can make from doing it, right? That's all they care about. We had a lot of good points all around on this one. Like this is really good. We usually say this after we get off, folks, but like afterwards we're like, oh man, that was really good. This point. Like we've had a lot of good points and differing points, right? Which makes for good conversation. Which makes us pretty.
One thing too about the C-suite is like they have a fiduciary duty to their shareholders. Everything, yes. Their actions are driven to, hey, we need to increase share prices. We need to make sure these dividend payments hand out. And part of it right now is it's all about, but also companies have built-in investment budgets. They have investment budgets. They've allocated those to AI, right? So that's why you've got companies like Dell and NVIDIA just going up because people are buying Dell's data center services. They're buying GPUs from NVIDIA, right? So it's really all like a self-feeding cycle here, right? Especially in the tech sector, where they've got a lot of these same, they all know each other probably, right? Like all these companies have connections within each other, right? That help drive this innovation, right? So that's kind of just where I wanted to leave that off with the growth in stock.
To ramcyber.io and I can write you a policy.
Exactly. C-suite, Ram Cyber. You need a consulting team. We've got it right here.
Hit me up. But yeah, definitely continue to tune in throughout the week. So Monday, Tuesday are topics. Wednesday, discussion. Thursdays, Ask a CISSP. And then Fridays, everything else. So movies, books, games, all that good stuff. Hit up all the websites that go by our name. The other side of the firewall. The other side, social media platforms. The other side of the firewall. The other side of the FW. Ask a CISSP. Or go to ramcyber.io. Stay safe. Stay secure.